What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of this week's Brick Built Mindset podcast. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in and subscribing. So today's message is similar to a message that I dropped for the very first episode in relation to getting started on something. And I want to pull from a quote from Zig Ziglar. And what he said was, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start in order to be great. And my first episode was related directly to this podcast, and I talked a lot about wanting to do this podcast and wanting to get it started. And I was actually having a conversation with my father the other day, and he also is wanting to get into the podcast space, and he wants to start, and he wants to line up everything. And quick backstory, my father is a very established pastor. He has been pastoring for well over my entire life, and he's always been good at public speaking. He's always been good at things of wisdom, and that's honestly where I get a lot of my attraction to wisdom and seeking out advice. And I can almost guarantee that he's used to being good at something when he first starts, and he's used to things lining up properly, and especially in that space. And as we begin to talk and he sought advice into the podcast space, he asked me, how do I get started? How do I do this? How do I do that? And he was naming all the things he wanted to get done before he actually press record. And I said, Dad, just start. Just get moving. Because in order for this thing to be great, you have to start. And when I saw that quote from Zig Ziglar, it brought me right back to when I started this podcast. And I by no means think that this podcast is great, but I do know that it does have an impact. And I do know that it does reach certain people, and it resonates with certain people. And I know that this podcast resonates with me, and I want it to be great. So I had to start. So my message is to anybody listening today that is in that same exact predicament where you are not sure if the new endeavor that you're taking on is going to be great. You're not sure how you're going to start the new endeavor. And what's holding you back is being good at it at first. It'll never be good at first. Nobody's ever good at the first thing they do. You'll never accomplish something that you set out to accomplish if you don't try. You'll never be great at something that you set out to do unless you try. So in order to be great, you have to get started. So just start.